Alright boys, blood magic. I'm here today to walk you through the difficult, confusing, and sometimes frustrating process of becoming a blood magic powerhouse in Dominion 6. First off, we're going to discuss some quick math here. I know ordinarily my guides are aimed at giving you quick and dirty tips for Dominion 6, and this one will be no different. But in this particular case, I want to be clear as to why our strategy works here consistently. If you aren't interested in the math portion or the why, just please use the chapters below to skip ahead to the blood plan section. That'll get you quick and dirty tips, so you'll be able to just stick to it. But alright, with blood magic, you have several competing forces at play. First, you need to collect your gems or blood slaves manually. This creates unrest, which then lowers the chances of you collecting blood slaves. In addition, peasants will occasionally attempt to murder your blood slave collectors, which throws another wrench into the mix. The success of a blood hunt depends entirely on 3 different checks. The first check being a chance based on their blood magic skill level. The second check is a chance based on the population of the province they're in, and the third check is a chance based on unrest for them to fail. The way probabilities work is essentially if you have 3 checks you must make, then any small chance of failure in those checks is going to get exponentially worse with other small chances of failure in the check. So our obvious goal here is to reduce our chances of failure to 0 on all 3 checks so we can guarantee success in our blood slave hunting. Another side note is that if you fail to successfully hunt blood slaves, you will still suffer unrest in the province and thus population loss, which of course leads to gold loss over time because population is where you generate gold from. So you definitely want to maximize your chances here. All right, so our first chance of success. For our first check, the equation for success based on the hunter's blood level is 10 plus your blood level times 30%, which as a level 1 blood hunter grants us a 40% chance of success. If you have a level 2 blood hunter, you have a 70% chance of success. And if you have a level 3 blood hunter, you're granted a 100% chance of success on the first check. Considering the fact that construction level 5 grants us the ability to create Sanguine Dowsing Rods, which is a miscellaneous magic item that raises our effective blood hunting level by 1, that means any nation with access to level 2 blood mages will have a guaranteed success on this check. Alright, wanted to show you guys the Sanguine Dowsing Rod. You can make this with construction level 5. It requires 1 blood magic and 5 blood slaves. Now, please note, this only works on people with blood magic. This is a +1, not a 0-2-1. So if you have a level 1 blood mage, this will treat him as blood 2. And if you have a blood 2, it'll treat him as blood 3, which really helps us with our calculation. But if you have a lack of blood mages entirely, this will not help you at all. Now, the second check we have to make when blood hunting is a population check. For our second check, the equation for success based on the population is simply the population divided by 75 for a % chance of success. That means for a population of 7,500 or more, we're guaranteed success on this check. But if we drop the population even down to just 5,000, we're working with only a 67% chance of success. And even lower down to 2,500 population means only a 33% chance of success. And for our final check, we need to check for an unrest chance of failure as opposed to chance of success. So for every 4 unrest we have in the province, we will suffer a 1% chance of failure. So this gives us roughly a 5% chance of failure for every 20 unrest in the province. So at a large 100 unrest, which obviously prevents even recruitment, we have a huge 25% chance of failure here. For 80 unrest, we have a 20% chance of failure, and so on. It keeps going down by 5% for every 20. So if we combine the 3 previous checks for blood hunting, to guarantee ourselves consistently successful blood hunting, we need to follow the rules. Blood hunting equivalent of a level 3 with either a level 2 blood hunter and a Sanguine Dowsing Rod, or a level 3 blood hunter. We need a province population of 7,500 or more, and we need to maintain an unrest of 0. Alright, here's what we've been waiting for. So this is our overall rules to live by in blood hunting. The 3 rules to live by are a blood hunter level 2 with a Sanguine Dowsing Rod, or blood hunter level 3 in the province. We have to maintain a population of 7,500 or more in the province and unrest of 0. To accomplish this, we have to kind of understand the formula for population as well as unrest generation. Basically, the formula for the amount of slaves found by a level 3 blood hunter is 3 slaves plus a random number between 1 and 6. The average of this is 6.5 blood slaves per turn. The unrest generated by this is a random number generated between 1 and 3 multiplied by the number of slaves we've generated. So that would be an average of 14 unrest generated per turn, because if we take an average of 1 and 3, we would essentially get, right in the middle at 2, and we'd be multiplying it by the 6.5 or 7 slaves that we would be, if you round it up, that we'd be generating per turn. That gives us a 14 unrest generated per turn for basically 7 blood slaves. I round it up here just so it's kind of worst case scenario on the average. I'd rather round up and over prepare rather than round down and under prepare. So if you look at growth in your Dominion, every point of growth grants you a 0.2% of population growth per scale, which basically means if you have growth 1, you're going to be gaining 150 population per turn in a 7,500 population province. This would counteract the population loss from patrolling, because when patrolling, every time you reduce a single point of unrest, you're reducing 10 population, which means with an average of 14 unrest generated per turn, we're killing an average of 140 population per turn. So the growth 1 in a 7,500 population province would grant us 150 growth, which would give us an overall plus 10 population per turn, which is exactly what we need. So we need an average of a 28 patrol strength, because 28 patrol strength, the way patrol reduces unrest is every time you successfully reduce unrest with patrol, you do a check of the patrol strength. You roll a die that's basically one from the number 1 up to the patrol strength of amount of unrest you've removed. So if you have a 28 patrol strength, the average there would be 14, which would remove the unrest that we have. So that's why I think we have a pretty good set of rules where we have an average blood slave collection of 6.5 per turn, or rather per blood hunter, which equates to an average unrest generation of 14 per turn per hunter. Patrolling units of 28 patrol strength per hunter, obviously, counteract an average of 14 unrest per turn. That would kill 140 population per turn. A Dominion with growth 1, or you can cast the spell Blood Fecundity to give yourselves growth 2 to maintain an average growth of 150 population per turn in a population of 7,500 or more. Counteract this. Now, you can ramp this up if you really want to get into blood hunting. Obviously, you could double these numbers. You could obviously get a patrolling strength of 56, have 2 level 3 blood hunters in a province, and have growth 2. That would have the same numbers. I just wanted to give you guys a real easy checklist and a simple screen like this that you can refer to repeatedly. All right, now that we went over blood and the mechanics of it, I wanted to show you a couple of quick easy blood summons that can help you in your world domination pursuits as a Pentocrator. So at Blood Magic 1, we gain access to bind Fiery Imps, which grant us 5 or more of these little fiery dorks that have a weak fire throwing attack, but it's magic and it's throwing, so it's rain. If you amass these guys, they can actually do okay against undead, but their ranged attacks can pop glamour, light undead on fire, that sort of thing. At level 2, we can bind ourselves some Bone Fiends. These guys, not super impressive, but good hit points, 2 attacks. They're not flying, but they're inanimate, they're undead. If you need inanimate, undead, poison-resistant troops, this is what you get. These guys are great at just running around and being extra bodies. I personally don't summon a whole ton of these, but at level 2 we also gain the ability to get Spine Devils, which grant you poison barbs for short range attacks, and actually decent attack volume with this magic damage. It has only weak poison, but it's a decent attack volume with an attack of 14 and 15 damage plus 5 poison. It's not terrible for low level summons. We can also get Fiends of Darkness, which are obviously more powerful in dark power. Actually, I want to make sure. Yeah, this guy has 2 levels of experience. So these are actually 2 points lower than I was talking about, because these guys have been sitting around for a while. With the Spine Devils, you still get your poison capabilities just at a lower level. With your Fiends of Darkness, they get more powerful in darkness. All these go up by 2 in darkness. So you have some stealthy troops running around. It gives you some stuff. Their stats aren't exactly stellar, but if you need them, you can summon them. Now at level 3, we get the spell Crossbreeding, which is a really cheap way to get yourself a whole bunch of chaff. Here's the sort of chaff we're looking at. Foul Spawn, 13 hit points, Poison Spit, Tentacle. We've got another form of Poison Spawn, or Foul Spawn with Regen, Unsurroundable. Got another one, low hit points. Another one that's a Spider Chassis, Poison Resistant, and a Web. Got a whole bunch of these little garbage Foul Spawns. Now, one thing you can get with Crossbreeding when you summon, if you get really lucky, is you can pull some of these guys. These Foul Spawns with 5 attacks, decent protection, great hit points. These guys can thump on some people. You'll only get a couple of them once in a while, but they are actually pretty nice when you do get them. I've seen on the lower level Crossbreeding getting an Et and similar things, but it's much more likely on the improved Crossbreeding. Now, when we get to level 3, we also gain the access to the spell that removes afflictions in the form of Blood Feast. Blood Feast is great. It's one of the only ways I know of to guaranteed remove afflictions, but you can also summon devils and frost fiends. So what we're looking at are, here's a devil. a flaming devil. Good attack, good, I believe this is a paralyzing poison. Yeah, it's paralyzing poison. They can fly and attack rear, cause a lot of trouble for your enemies with the devils. Frost Fiends, I don't necessarily personally like them as much. I believe, yeah, devils have a little more protection. But the Frost Fiends, what they are is they're stronger and cold. So depending on the province temperature, you might want to summon these guys instead. But they have a ranged Frost Blast, which can cause a lot of havoc if somebody's weak to cold. At level 4, we can summon Poisonous Serpent Fiends. These guys have, this doesn't look very impressive, but these guys have a 35 damage death poison. So if you really do need some poison and some HP thumps, these guys are pretty good at fitting in for that. Now, another spell in level 4 is Blood Fecundity, the spell I mentioned earlier that boosts growth in a province for us. So it's pretty good options. Now, when we get to level 5 blood magic, we can summon Dark Vines, which are huge HP sponges. These just take all the damage you want, but you can also get a hold of some Demon Knights if you want something that's decent. These guys have fear that stacks, and they just run around and cause everybody to flee. Solid protection and defense. Demon Steed's just as tough, and they give you 3 attacks. So they're pretty darn tanky. In addition, we can summon a Succubi, which gives us assassination capabilities. They're unseen, they're hard to deal with, good glamour magic aspects, so we have a couple options here. At level 6, we can summon basic vampires. So here's a normal vampire. They are immortal. They have reforming flesh. They're resistant to tons of damage. Really, really durable versus normal attacks. Life drain attack, which just adds and adds and adds to their HP when they're in combat. They're stealthy. They cause a lot of problems. In addition, we can summon ourselves an Ice Devil. This guy can, there are a couple different versions of this guy. There's another one that's like 4 water, no death, and he has ice protection of 4, so his protection here would go up to 25. These guys are pretty monstrous, good damage. You can throw some items on them to thug pretty easily. And if we want a combination of these summons that we have, we can do Ritual of 5 Gates, which gives us a Fiend of Darkness, a Devil, a Frost Fiend, a Storm Demon, and a Demon Knight for one casting at a bit of a reduced cost. Now, at level 7, we break into some different magic paths. Father Illerth is a super combatant chassis all on his own. He's got greatly enhanced regen, fear, big old tanky boy, tons of hit points, big old hit point sponge, and he breaks us into earth really well. We can also summon ourselves Archdevils, which breaks us into high level fire, fear, flying, lots of good damage. These will throw people into Inferno and paralyze them. And finally, at level 8, we get improved crossbreeding, which grants us a lot more of these lucky rolls. So we can pull some Grotesques, which are huge monsters that tons of HP, bunch of good attacks with death poison, claws, Drake fire that they can spit out in a wide stream, or narrow beam, I guess it is. You can get some really weird summons with this stuff. You can get some foul beasts. I believe these guys are undisciplined, yeah. But they can go in the water. You can get yourself, again, the Etna. You get a lot more often with these. A lot of these troops turn out to be more useful when you cast improved crossbreeding at the higher level. And in addition to that, we can break into death with Vampire Lords. You summon Vampire Lords. These guys, I believe they generate these thralls. But what they do is he's immortal. You can summon a bunch of the immortal vampire base troop, put them together, and you've got yourself immortal flying thug. Thug's not the right word. You have yourselves little armies for light raiding. And finally, of course, at level 9, we can summon big ol' monsters, these demon lords. These guys are pretty disgusting when you summon them. They're essentially pretenders that are just far cooler in their basic setup. Now, they can cause you a lot of problems, but they also break you into high magic. 5 glamour, 3 death. This will cause you a lot of problems, though, because he's a heretic. They bring misfortune. Belphegor, brings you blood slaves, but also causes you a lot of, I believe, unrest and more heretic. Having these guys around for a long period of time to just sit is not a good plan. And they come with their own items. I didn't give them any of these. They just showed up with these. But as I showed with that example, Pazuzu can cause some problems when he's in combat. A lot of these demon lords cause some serious problems for your opponents. And if you summon a bunch of those random troops, pick your poison with devils and demons you summon, and then throw them on one of these commanders and just throw them into enemy lands, and you've got yourself a good way to turn blood magic into a victory. Here we go. Here's an example of blood summoning. This is Pazuzu. We summoned Pazuzu last turn, and keep in mind this took us 1 turn to summon. We summoned Pazuzu, the Lord of the Plague Wind. This is one of the Demon Lords, level 9 blood summon. And people often ask, are they worth it? Because if you look at their stats, yeah, they're worth it in the way that he breaks you into high-level air and possibly high-level death and blood. But it requires blood, so that's not much of a change, and it requires a lot more blood than that. But he still does break you into some magic paths. But the thing I wanted to show is I have summoned 40 Storm Demons here in 1 turn. And this is a throne battle, where this is one of those throne battles that just starts with a bunch of shadows and shade beasts and kind of a tough little battle. Nothing too surprising, but then you see this monster, and she's Death Mage level 10 with Fear, Ring of Sorcery, and a whole boatload of gems, so you know we're going to be getting undead spammed. And I have a pretty good idea that Storm Demons, 40 of them will be just fine, and half of them are cursed. We've been getting some bad events, but the ones that aren't cursed will carry the day. It won't really matter. Let's see what happens. Sure enough, we're getting the consistent undead spam in the back to support, which usually means oh, she got a weapon. Alright, well, we're going to get the consistent dead spam back there. Alright, now the Storm Demons have run out of ammunition, I'm guessing. Regardless, they are now in melee. And their Thunder Fist during a storm is not actually bad. It's good 8 armor negating damage along with their 13 magic damage. But we're getting the undead spam still, and she's probably not even fatigued out at level 10. Oh, she just got fatigued out. Okay. That is pretty impressive. Oh, they're lifting off, and they're landing. Lifting off, landing. Lifting off, and she's done. Let's see the battle summary. Alright. So that, right there, is an army you can summon of demons in 1 turn. That is the power of blood magic. You can summon these armies anywhere you want, whenever you want, as long as you have a good blood slave economy going. So I hope that helped you guys a lot. If you guys have any questions, throw them down in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all the normal things. And let me know what you guys would like to see next, and I'll be able to set that up for you.